is up, everyone, and welcome to Convincing Atheists. That's right, misfits one and all. We are heading over to the Politics and Religion Discord server to see if we can find someone to help us find God. But the topics have yet to come because James and myself are looking for a convincingly good time. Boop shooba dooba boop 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 dooba shooba shooba shooba.
Topics have yet to come. They're not even aroused yet.
That's right. We need to rub very hard. Also, Gizmo, that was my fault. I was fiddling with things in the background, and I switched, and then there might have been a double song. But we're just going to ignore that and sending love to everyone out there. That's right. We are talking to theists to see if they can convince us that a God does exist. Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. I said it, YouTube. I said it. You can let them go. It's been years. And then you can hit that bell icon so that when set can let you join our premieres or our live streams.
But no, YouTube will not let them go. Bill Gates hardened his heart.
Listen, they are in Antarctica, where we all know you're not allowed. And so they are working deep within the flat earth so that they can control the environment. Yes, it makes too much sense not to be true. What is wrong? That's right, you're wrong. Checkmate, atheist. What is up, everyone? What is up, Brian Stevens? What is up, Scott Duke? What is up, Loki? What is up, everybody? God equals the square root of -1. And keep on saying hi, and we'll keep on saying hi. But we're going to do it fast because I set that event on there, and I'm going to try not to be on Amy time as best that I can. And we are going to send
Time
love.
Is relative.
Time is relative. James, if we go faster towards the speed of light, it may actually be... I'm still probably going to be late. That's the tricky part, is you can't go backwards.
January will get here sooner.
That's right. At least January. Oh, God. So many political jokes in my head. Do we have 4 years?
Exactly.
Anyway, continuing forward. That's right. We are a skeptic channel. However, we're looking for voices that disagree with us. We are going to the Politics and Religion Discord server. Please join us over there and feel free to talk with us. I'll send that link in a moment.
AKA Purgatory.
Purgatory has always been a fascinating concept. The fact that you could go somewhere in between. There doesn't even be a purgatory for whatever. That and the DMV. They give a run for their money. Yes.
But the
there are many ways
version of the DMV, which you
this
probably never saw.
Way better.
Kids movie. I had to watch it with my son, but the long and short of it is they're all sloths at the DMV. They're all sloths.
James, sloths are amazing, but you're probably right. That's probably true.
Yeah.
Did you know sloths actually have algae growing on their back because of how slow that they grow? Sometimes, not all sloths, but
I heard that. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Yes, sending love to sloths and Americans eating potato chips. Oh, sending so much love. Who doesn't love potato chips, though? And sending love to all of our super chatters who send in love. And we'll interact with them, and I'll dance around. Even if you can't see me, I'm still going to dance because I want to dance, and you can't stop me.
He likes to dance.
You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind, but that'd be a shitty thing to do. You should, unless they're bad friends. But yes, do it anyway. You're drunk and it's Friday, whatever. Anyway, yes. Also, there are our evolving badge system, our channel members sending so much love. Mwah, mwah. We have not only done many episodes on evolution, but we're probably going to do a few more just because I can't get enough. Though we do need to do abiogenesis of the Big Bang, James, because a lot of creationists just think that's the same subject. Well, half of them think that's the same subject. The other half knowingly try and mix the subjects together to obfuscate. Did
We'll
you
try to conflate
need
the
levels
two.
of evolution? There's actually stellar evolution. And okay,
Look at this evolution of the whale penis over the past 10 years. That's how fast it happens for
Speaking
6,000
of
years.
animal Johnsons, which I know probably shouldn't come up as often as Ken Hovind would like it to, but you know that the vestigial organs, the legs within a snake, now help them mount each other.
Well,
But
that's
no
what he
longer
says. They're not
used.
vestigial.
Oh,
No,
but
God,
he
God,
uses it.
God made them that way. God
Oh,
made
God
them with
made
those
them
little
that
nubs.
way,
Those
even
little
though
nubs so that
they're
they
in
could
the
help.
same spot to where
Oh,
they
yeah,
would be
yeah.
legs.
Exactly, yeah. God made them that way. So to help them, help the
But
boy
that's
snake
how
stay on
evolution
top of the girl
works,
snake the right
is
way.
that it's messy
Yeah.
and it just gets things done. It's just like,
Yeah.
listen, we got there, we made it work, we made a baby. Whereas with creation, everything is clean. There are just very clean, separate categories, a very big divider between us and other apes who they would consider
Well, the biggest
apes.
divider.
We're not apes. Of course, we're not apes. And we're not rats, except we're mammals. They're okay with accepting mammals. That makes no sense to me either. I'll continue to bring that up.
But anteaters are mammals, and we're not anteaters, so.
Do you see, James? Are you going around eating ants?
Are we possums? Other marsupials?
I very specifically am a raccoon, but only when you see me
well.
with full eyeliner and mascara. Yes, and sending
Maybe
loves.
Ken can go down to Australia to molest the kangaroos.
Yes, again, another interesting. Australia is just a fascinating, subject within evolution because their mammals have an entire different category. They actually have marsupials down there, all within a own branch of the evolutionary tree themselves. However, still mammals, just like us.
But Amy, you see what happened was God just made it so that all those animals lived in Australia. There you go.
I know. Again, they always go, well, maybe it was just boom. He just made them there. How do you make them? Oh, well, the Lord knows. That's for the Lord, James. It's not for us petty humans to understand. However, we should question all the scientists about how they know everything and reject everything while giving no answer in return. It's a good model. I like it.
Scott Duke wants to know if you've been on. I haven't, but have you been on any other podcast lately? Except she does Randolph's, but she posts that.
I have not. I will say that I did get asked to go on J.L. Warren's in one of the upcoming Sunday shows, but I have to make sure that it doesn't, because I feel bad. It's like a date. I kind of have prior activities with Randolph and T-Jump and X and Taco and all the rest. However, if I don't, it'll still be on this channel, but it would be something very similar. It's the only thing I can think of. No, for the most part, I have been laying low. However, I've been thinking about asking MDD to do a debate. Just kind of trying to put our name back
during
in the ring.
Your winter break. That would be good.
It would be fun because I have been getting a craving. I will say. I also plan on going back up.
Huh?
Yes, I have a craving so much for. I've been watching a lot of George Carlin lately, more so than normal.
Atheist Jr. did a debate last, like the week before last, with Ken Hovind.
Did he? Everyone go check out AJ. He probably kicked the crap out of Ken Hovind.
It was what was it? It was on what was the topic of that debate? Oh boy.
How big a animal's phallic? No. Well,
Why don't I know
thank
this? I
you,
just watched that debate.
iPhone.
Oh my god.
Every once in a while, I hear a sound familiar on a podcast, and you'll go, "Is that my phone or your phone?"
Oh, sorry, Maya.
What's up, Maya? Sending so much love. Sending so much love to Tubin and everybody. And yes, I will say, even though I'm holding back here on my comedies, I may do a little bit of political humor. But the trick about being a comedian, I think, is how to win everyone over to your side, or how to, make everyone feel like you're at least not just a biased hack. However, I do have strong feelings.
I bet you do.
Yes, continuing forward. James is like, continue forward, muscle forward. It's difficult. It really is. Oh my goodness. But I will say I'd be more open to talking politics and other subjects if I wasn't so late myself. Let's get my ass back on topic. So let's talk about, thank you to all of our channel members. Thank you to all of our CEOs that have I'm just teasing, Amy. What? Don't go that easily. There are no healthcare CEOs in our monologue. We are going to send thanks to all of our... James is like, the boat, it's rocky. Yes, sending love to all of our Patreons at patreon.com/Amy Newman.
Well, thank you for that clarification, Maya.
Hey.
And
I'm just sending so much love.
AJ's debate was on radiocarbon dating. There's a specific debate on carbon dating, and of course, let's just imagine how that went.
Exactly. They use dating methods improperly, and then say, "Hey, I used it improperly. Why didn't it work?" It's like use it for the dating.
Well, they don't want it to work. Well, AJ caught him, like one of his slides. He was saying like two pieces of the same mammoth that dated differently, but it wasn't the same mammoth when you read the actual article. But he deceptively put that on his slide to make it look like it didn't work.
We went through a whole video where they went through the top proofs, the top evidences that convince evolutionists, which isn't a thing, that evolution is true. And it turns out it's just an awkward list of obscure things that happened hundreds of years ago, and science was able to get around them by using better science. It's really just scientific history, but almost none of them were reasons for why evolution is true. Creationists. Not only that, my favorite part, I'll continue to bring that up because I found that out only through doing research, is that creationists are trying to game the system. Is that they really are paying people, or have people at least at their disposal.
You're an AI expert.
They have people that are trying to make the algorithm believe that they are a more trustworthy, credible source. And so I'll continue to say that it's probably not God making it so that their answer becomes a reference or a source within an AI-generated output. Yeah. But yes, sending love to them. All right, we're going to do even quicker shout-outs to the names because we are late and we need to run on there. but sending so much love to Azo, reminding us we have a skeptic and ranting community. Chris Disciple reminding us that atheists and theists are invited to said community. You just need skeptical beliefs. Dale Pastel reminding us that we have empirical-based beliefs. Those are the best type. However, yes, you can have argumentation. You can have other forms. Just, I guess, present it and see where it goes. Davegar reminding us the world is round and 4.5 billion years old. That's actually not that old if you understand how old the universe is actually, well, first of all, has been, because 4.5 compared to 13.8, but then will be. Then we're basically a baby universe. Rachel Holen reminding us
100 trillion years for the star formation phase alone of the universe.
Exactly. The lights are gonna be on for quite a while. Rachel Holen reminding us that don't take slaves from the nations around you. Just go get, if you want a sexy gal or a femboy, on your knees, then go
She had
to
a coupon.
club.
She had a coupon to take them from Canada. What are you going to do?
That's right.
Discounted slave Canadians.
Just like our Canadian Genesis friend. They're a little bit nicer. They say thank you. Sending love to Randolph, who is a little bit nicer.
As they beat their slave, they thank them for
exactly.
I want to thank you for all your hard work, but you looked at me the wrong way, so clunk clunk clunk.
Boom.
Yes. Yeah.
And they walked the next day. They'll be okay.
Little bit of a limp, but it'll be all right.
Sending love also to Ian Davenport, reminding us that these arguments we're going to hear tonight, well, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a new one. But the ones we've gotten so far have not been so fantastic. Apologetics. And Regos reminding us that we do have a skeptic Bible study, and we will be, hopefully, I have a lot of time up and coming. We're going to make it work so that we can continue to read the Bible, because we mine material from it somehow better than anything we could create ourselves somehow. James, you know what I like about Pharaoh? He had such a dignified, distinguished name. It was Pharaoh.
All his kids?
Yes, exactly.
And his father?
And his father before him. It just stuck out. That's what I like about it. Big love. See you out there, Kevin and BV. And all right, we are about to go in there. James, I'm going to hand it over to you really quick, and then we're going to jump into Discord.
Okay.
But James, we are talking Convince an Atheist. We are asking what they know and why. And how are you tonight?
I'm doing all right this Sunday morning. Got a little week and a half, I guess, before the holiday season really gets kicked off. We could say Merry Christmas. We do. We have been known to do it. We sometimes actually no, we don't get pushback. Nobody really cares. That's the thing about us. We don't really care. It's not that big of a deal to us. Although we would like to de-religionize the society at large, there's still going to be holdover elements in our culture and society. They're going to be remnants for quite the foreseeable future. Nothing you can do about that. It's just societal evolution as it works. It works slowly. So we can take the nice things from religion. We can take the things in it that are less offensive, and leave the rest. Leave the dogma, the nonsense, the holy text, the things that are irrelevant. So we're going to be going on to Discord in just a few minutes. We're going to be looking for people who can try to talk some sense to us, try to help us understand why we should believe in a religion. Let's see here. Just a moment. Oh boy, here we go. Good morning. And get this this boy up. He's if you notice, I'm in a new location. I had to move again this past week, but it was a good move. It was a happy move because this is a lot nicer. So yeah, this is much better place than I was in before. So yay. We got the gizmos. We got the dog over there on the bed. Trying to get him off the bed is not an easy task unless you've got food in your hand. He rarely gets off the bed. Right, Ryder? But yes.
Woo-hoo. And all right. That's right, James. We weren't allowed to say Merry Christmas. I think there was a war on it, but after many hard-fought battles. Yes, I have a go-to when someone says Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. And that is to say whatever they said back at you. Someone says Merry Christmas, say Merry Christmas. Someone says Happy Holidays, say Happy Holidays. And I don't really
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. If someone says Happy Hanukkah, I say Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You just give them the energy that they're trying to give back, because generally people aren't trying to go, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, ha ha ha. It's generally
I wipe my ass with Happy Holidays.
Yeah, I know. It's just generally a good vibe. Whatever someone's trying to tell you, please just give it back to them. PSA. And yeah, we're about to get into it. I'm going to create the event. Exactly. And I'm also going to warn them in chat so that I can try and bait them.
Put out the sodomy alert.
Yes. And all right, let's go to it. Convince an atheist. We are going to share screen. Oh, and James, you got to join.
Oh, I once you get it queued up, I'll probably clap the close out of this and join that.
All right, we're about to begin. Good morning. Waiting for my co-host to join, but got Hadrian and then Trump is king. We'll go in that order. I very much disagree with his name. Not a fan really of any kings, unless you're talking old style, when there wasn't a better model.
You know, like King Charles, the future Antichrist. Remember that video?
Yeah, there has to always be a new Antichrist, James. Just a few more minutes, guys. A lot of times there's kind of an evolution between a king, then there was the thought of the noble king or the philosopher king, a king that was more intellectual, more in touch with the people, and then eventually you get representatives, people that speak for the people, that come
I'm in.
All right. And all right. Hadrian, raise your hand if you want again, though I guess I am going to invite Trump up. Except let it cat in, cat in, cat out.
Hello? Or what?
Hi.
Why can't I hear anything?
I don't know, but we'll let you figure that out.
Are you guys talking?
We are talking. Can you hear us? Oh my goodness, Shane. This is probably one of the most truest facts out there. Pizza. Putting it on pasta. Speaking. Hello. All right. We're off to an exciting start. I wonder if this subject is going to be political or theological in nature. I could jump to conclusions and say political because of the name, but I mean, could be a Christian trying to defend the faith. Also sponsored by dipping things in cheese. No go.
I was on there, but I couldn't hear anything on Discord.
Well, you can't hear anything on Discord? You can't hear me?
I couldn't hear anything. I heard him say like one thing and then it cut off.
Very weird.
Can you hear him?
No, but he's muted now, but wonderful. See, I set my settings before the show started to make sure. No, that's what it should be on. Can you hear me? Testing. Is this anything?
I hear you here, but I couldn't hear you on Discord, but I'd have to close this out to go back to Discord to try.
That is very weird. Testing. It says that it's getting through.
Now I heard you on both, I think, because I'm hearing a double.
See, I was doing a test, but it shows that I'm going through. All right, I guess I'm going to restart Discord. Sorry, everyone. I love y'all. We're just going to have to restart it. Hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend out there. I just don't know who, if it's, I feel it has to be me. If it's two people, yet I don't know what I would change. So I'm going to just restart. All right, restart in Discord. I am going to jump back in there and see if we can talk. Can you hear me? Testing. Testing.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, there you go.
You're kind of low.
Does this make it better or worse?
Yeah, better. That sounds good.
All right, how are you?
I just got banned for hate speech on TikTok.
Well, if it is actual, I get you. It's the meme. But yeah, hate speech is bad, okay?
Yeah, but TikTok, I don't know if you ever been on TikTok.
I've posted
didn't say-
2 videos, but I should go on it more to post more.
Their like censorship is insane. Like, I didn't say anything hateful. It's just ridiculous.
Well, can I ask, even though this is probably being baited in the conversation itself, what were you talking about?
The only thing I could think of is I said that, like, I think there could be like good reasons to shame people who are obese, because obesity can lead to like being on serious health problems and suffering, right? So I think like if people do bad things or unhealthy things, it's like okay to like tell them, like, or to like say it's like you shouldn't be doing that, sort of shame that type of behavior. That's all because I just think I was arguing there's an overall good.
So I think that unless really someone is consented to wanted that type of behavior, that is kind of being a dick.
I wouldn't say that's hate speech, though. I don't think I should get banned for having that opinion.
Okay, but I don't think that many people would like you if you went around and just randomly critiqued people on what you thought the ideal body would be and that they should go out. What if they're overweight to you, but they're perfectly healthy?
No, being obese is not. You can't be obese and be healthy.
I mean,
it's bad for you to be obese. Like it's a scientific fact. You can cause lots of health problems, and you'll die. You'll have a way shorter life. It's like worse than smoking.
Amy, he can't.
yes.
This is just on our thing, but I'm just gonna let you know this is PMRs.
So like we shame people for smoking
This is
cigarettes
trolling?
because it's unhealthy. It causes cancer. I was just saying the same would apply to obesity. That's not hate speech.
Yeah, I don't think they shame. I think that we try to teach that smoking cigarettes is generally harmful. And I think that it's just kind of mean also if you were to go up to someone and smack their cigarette out of their hand and be like, hey, that's a bad habit. And they're like,
we literally banned it. We banned it in bars and restaurants. When I was growing up, we could smoke.
Okay.
We didn't ban fat people.
Again, I feel like this is just a trolling session, but yeah, we didn't ban Americans from going into establishments because we had a weight quota on the front of the door. By the way, do you have any religious topics? Because yeah, it is a troll. Exactly. I mean, from the it was a meme entry. Yes, of course you're trolling. But I guess
I'm not trolling.
Uh-huh. Can I ask, do you have any like religious or I mean, I have almost wanted too badly to go politically, but I feel like I would rather talk with someone who had earnest beliefs in that revenue. Do you like have any religious beliefs or
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Why?
Because the transcendental argument for God, that's like the evidence shows that Christianity is true.
What evidence?
Transcendental proof.
Like transcendental argument for the existence of God?
Sorry. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, there's like a transcendental proof. So the argument there.
Mm-hmm.
The arguments is like basically God's revealed himself in creation and human history. That revelation is the necessary precondition for truth, intelligibility, science, and the denial of that revelation would entail an absurdity and performative contradiction.
I would love to know, because God has not revealed themselves to me, and I don't see how they have given knowledge to the scientific community, except for maybe sometimes a priest accidentally helping out by taking their frock off, like when they help us discover the Big Bang.
So, like, to do science, if we were in a world where, like, a basketball could just turn into a hockey stick or something, and a cat could just turn into a dog, you couldn't do science in that world if everything was like randomly changing properties.
Yes, but instead they evolved, and so slowly over time you have changes. You couldn't just have a cat give birth to a dog. Exactly. You can't have magic.
Right. So I just asked a question, like, because in the Christian model of reality, God would like limit the cat's properties so the cat doesn't become the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what in the godless model of reality would limit the cat so it doesn't become a dog?
So specifically in evolution, you are always the thing higher than you were. You never stop being the thing. So for an example, we as apes will never stop being mammals. We will always be mammals. We will never stop being mammals, but we've broken off and since become very specifically great apes. But we're also never going to stop being multicellular organisms. So you could go up and up and up and up all the way to where life began. And we're always going to share the higher category and break off as time continues.
All right. So since only God can explain the limitations of the objects that are necessary to do science, then to deny God would be to deny science. It's just like an entailment.
God can't describe anything.
Well, God limits, he's the absolute identity statement that would impose and secure the identity of all the things that we talk about.
That does not make sense to me. I don't understand how your God gives identity to anything, especially since I view your God as our creation.
So we look at reality and we derive meaning from reality. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Either going to be the case that that's an inherent meaning put there by God, or that humans impose meaning upon a world which there is no meaning.
It's going to be an inherent meaning imposed by a God, or it isn't going to be an inherent meaning imposed by God. I think that it's the latter.
Yeah. There's either meaning in the world inherent of humans, or independent of humans, or there's like this built into the fabric of reality, this meaning there that we discover. So
I agree, and I think that in that case it would be the former. It's only the meaning that humans can create besides the biological meaning that we have built into our consciousness, because our consciousness is here for a very specific reason, to like gather food and get rid of the food and to find a shelter to rest. That type of meaning built into our biology. Us deciding what Netflix choice we think is going to change and blow our mind next, that is all up to us.
So the entailment of that is just going to be like, we create what's true in our minds. So I can just say, well, I decided Christianity's true, and then I win the debate.
Sorry, I had
Only in your
my
own mind.
no, because truth is not mind independent. So a true statement, you could say, is it true that a burger at McDonald's costs $1? And it is either true or false. It is mind independent. A mind may have set the value, but when you go there and you have to actually get a burger, it is set on whether something is either true or false.
Well, so it's just if there's no inherent meaning in reality, then You're just a random process of you're just a random product of a meaningless process, and any meaning that you create would just be arbitrary.
Yeah, arbitrary meaning created by a person. Yes, it would be. Yeah.
But then there's no true meaning. Like you couldn't say anything that's true.
Could you go
You could
up
say
to
anything
McDonald's? Hold on, just 1 second. I have a quick question. Could you go up to McDonald's and you say, "Listen, the prices are arbitrary. It's just set. Life has no meaning, and thus I want this to be $1." And do you think you could get away with that?
No, because like we have this shared illusion in your system. Everyone they believe it has this meaning, but it doesn't really have the meaning.
But it does. There is someone who set the value, and it was arbitrary, whatever number that they picked. Yes, but once it becomes a statement, it is either $1 or not $1. It is a true or false statement.
If all the humans were to die, then the meaning would fade away because it would be transient. It would only exist in our minds.
Yes,
So
but then
but that's not real then.
But do you understand what would happen once that happens? You're like saying, yes, the McDonald's is now falling apart. There are no more employees. There's no more such thing as money. Cows are now roaming instead of actually coming into, well, they haven't come into our factory willingly. But you know what I mean? The entire production line has come to an end. Currency is no more. Yeah, well, then it's meaningless and you can't get a burger. Got to go catch the cow yourself.
The godless model is absurd because
it's just reality.
There is no reality though, because
Neo.
Would you know reality is a physical or mental substance? You'd have no idea.
Reality is our brains are both that. We are a physical conduit by which our brains are made of neurons, and then we are mental states. The larger system of our nervous system allows us to have mental states and thoughts.
But when you pick up an apple, you believe that's like a physical in an external world. There's a physical apple.
I have good evidence for that.
Yeah, but what would be the evidence that anything is physical?
That anything is physical?
That there's the external world is made of physical substance.
It's made of matter?
No, but science doesn't prove that like anything is made of physical substance, because like Neo's in the Matrix, they have science, but science couldn't prove that they're in a Matrix.
He's really going there. Yeah, I love my thing. Couldn't the Matrix have happened and Christianity be true?
No, Christianity is a defeater for the Matrix.
Really?
No, it could be a programmed outcome in the Matrix.
The Bible's like the red pill.
But how do you know that Jesus, a perfect man, just wasn't created by the system to convince you to believe in something?
Jesus is Neo.
Because in Christianity, we have contact with that which is ultimate. So the ultimate is that which explains everything. So we're saying that the ultimate revealed itself in creation and human history. And if you deny that, then you'd have no ultimate to speak of. So, and if the Christian ultimate's true, that would just falsify any other ultimate. So
we have no ultimate to speak of, yes.
Yeah. It's like if I prove that peak A is the highest peak on the mountain, and that's going to falsify like peak B and peak C.
I don't understand how that proves that Jesus wasn't created by the system itself. Have you ever read 1984?
Yeah.
The person leading everyone to freedom. Spoiler alert. Vast spoiler alert. Just tune away for a second if you haven't read 1984, but was leading him towards Big Brother.
Yeah. There could be a world where we're deceived, right? It's like a Cartesian scenario.
So you're all going to go to heaven and be mind slaves for Jesus.
But God can't lie. That's or else he wouldn't be ultimate. It'd be a contradiction.
Wait a minute. He can't do something that is trivial and toddlers can do? You have a puny god.
Well, it's just a contradiction because the ultimate has to explain everything. So if that which is ultimate like lied and was evil, he could not explain good. So there
That
would be
makes
no
no
standard.
sense to me. In fact, I don't understand how ultimate is in. I find if you cannot tell a lie, then you're not ultimate. At least from my definition. Ultimate also is a weird thing because the ultimate is it's an adjective. You're trying to explain something and make it into a noun. Because ultimate's a very subjective, arbitrary label.
Evil is dependent on a standard. So evil can't be ultimate.
It can't be objective. P.
So evil is dependent on a standard of like the good to be evil, but the thing about the ultimate is it's independent. It can't have a dependence. So God, the ultimate God, could not be evil. It'd be like a contradiction.
I do not see how that's a contradiction. I feel like that's your human interpretation saying that you want an
Because
ultimate
good
thing
has
to
to
be
win.
good.
It's got to be good, right?
Yeah. To me, it could easily say this is the ultimate good and the ultimate evil. I don't understand why you're breaking that up. I don't know why you're saying the ultimate thing has to be good. That
Truth,
sounds
justice, the American way. It's got to be good.
It's just definitionally true because like
the
ultimate. What it means to be ultimate is that which explains everything, and if ultimate was evil, it could not explain good.
No, it doesn't. Ultimate is a very vague way of trying to. I'll tell you why it doesn't explain it. An ultimate taco does not explain everything. If you're playing an ultimate frisbee game, that does not explain everything. Ultimate is really just us trying to use a describer word saying it's really, 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 really amazing at something. Could be amazing at being evil.
I'm saying it's the ground of being. That's what I mean by ultimate. It grounds everything. It explains everything.
Yeah, it grounds everything as in we stem from it, but I do not believe that. I think that we actually make it, we are necessary for this being to exist, and without it, it would go away. And thus, I think we ground it. So I want to know why you would think it grounds us. What's up,
if you reject God's revelation,
up,
then you'd be in a position of ultimate mystery where you wouldn't know what is the ground of being because science can't tell us that and philosophers can't tell us that. So
we
ultimate
don't know
mystery.
what the ground of being is, right? We don't know.
Yeah, and that's just going to entail global skepticism, so you wouldn't be able to know anything.
But that's not how physicists talk. That's how philosophers talk. When we're dealing with physicists, we're dealing with things like the furthest back we could go is the Big Bang. And past the singularity, there is nothing else that we can see. That is it.
Well, science just makes claims about how we perceive the world. It doesn't make claims about reality. So to know reality, we need God to reveal himself.
Oh my. And he revealed himself?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When did he do that?
He revealed himself in creation and throughout human history, like Adam and Eve, Moses, Abraham, Jesus.
Well, I will say two things. Creation, we only know so far of animals who have been creators. That is to say, humans make houses, beavers make dams, and birds make nests. We know of no non-animal creations. It would be a first if there was a creator of some sort of natural element.
Yeah, but I'm saying all states of affairs are created And you're saying that there are uncreated states of affairs, but like, how would you know that? You're just making that up.
I don't know what you mean by created unstates of affairs, because a creation is something that we put together. Like, for example, a child will take a crayon and make a creation. A fork is a creation. We have taken metal or wood and forged it into something so that we could shovel food into our mouth. What evidence do we have for a creation of a universe?
What God revealed himself as the ultimate that created the universe. So it'd be God's revelation.
So it was the guy, just to get real specific, because we only have 5 more minutes left. It was the guy coming back 2,000 years ago.
Well, all of creation and human history reveals the Christian God, yeah.
But there's only been a few creations in history. That's what I mean. We
Most
disagree
people
on. Oh, sorry,
Don't know
James,
the
go.
Christian God. Most people never met him.
Yeah, we disagree, but the thing is, like, I've provided a proof, and like, what's the reason to think the godless model of reality is correct? There isn't any.
You're assuming something is in the model that you don't have evidence for.
And I'd
I
also
provided
Or
no
I guess
evidence.
assuming it must be there.
But I provided a transcendental proof. So you reject transcendental proof?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, but the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy says they're valid arguments. So do you know something that
It's
the
wrong.
Stanford
It's
Encyclopedia?
Are
wrong.
they
Yeah,
sound?
it's wrong.
Oh, okay.
Are they also sound? Just because they're in a proper format.
Well, yeah, but how
premise
is the argument
conclusion.
unsound? I don't see how it's unsound.
Because we don't know that there are things like ultimate causes, that there are necessary things. We don't know if there isn't infinite regresses. All of these things are philosophical quandaries that have not yet been answered. And in physics, I will continue to point back, we can only see as far back as where space-time was able to be. I say able to be because technically there was a thing. It wasn't a nothing. There was a singularity.
We don't know.
But when everything is on the same point, you can't have space-time because you're moving from A to A. You need to be able to move from A to B for time, for causality to happen. You need expansion. That is as far back as we can go. I kept on saying 2 things. The other thing really was the Jesus thing. Any final thoughts? I'll hand it back over to you, Trump is King, for a few final
Teamwork.
thoughts or a few, yeah.
Okay, right now?
If unless you have one more thing that you want responded back from us, but if not, yeah.
I could just end, yeah. Okay, so like, I don't know. I presented a transcendental proof where I'm saying that like God's revealed himself, he is ultimate, and when we reject that, we're in a position of ultimate mystery. Ultimate mystery is going to entail global skepticism. So whenever Amy talks, because Amy's talking, operating out of ultimate mystery, she would be contradicting herself because there would be she's making knowledge claims from a position where knowledge would be impossible because of ultimate mystery. So everything Amy or anyone who denies revelation would say would be a contradiction. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're not claiming absolute or perfect knowledge. We're just claiming you don't need infallibility to claim knowledge. We're claiming no absolute or perfect knowledge.
And all right. I know there were some people that were here but might have dropped off, which means the person that has their hand raised will be coming up. Sending love to everyone I didn't send love out to in chat, both on our YouTube channel, on all of our channels, as well as everyone in the Politics and Religion Discord server. And all right. Let's get them up here.
Yo,
Hi.
what's up?
Not too much. How are you? And what are your thoughts and why?
I've been all good. I hope you're doing well too. Of course, I'm a theist, and I hope I'll give you an argument for theism, and maybe it'll sway your way towards theism a little bit more.
All right, sounds like a plan. What do you have?
So this is the basic Ibn Sina. You know Ibn Sina, right? He's a Muslim philosopher. This is his argument for God's existence.
All
It's
right.
called the proof of the truth. He basically said, if we grab the totality of all contingents, of course I'm putting the argument informally now, but he said, if we grab the totality of all contingents, the thing that's going to give sufficient explanation for this totality is either going to be contingent or necessary. If it's contingent, it contradicts the totality because the totality is said to contain all contingents. If it's necessary, then that gives actual sufficient explanation and doesn't entail a contradiction. So obviously it must be necessary. And thus like a necessary being exists.
All right. I have a problem with contingency arguments because it builds into the fact that God is a necessary being for this universe. Therefore, we are contingent on him. But I think that's only something that you can grant if you believe that God is real. Because from my position, the necessary being for God is us. He is contingent on us. He is only able to change because of us. And yes, I guess what would be the difference between replacing a God and us? How
Okay,
do we know
good question.
who's real?
So Ibn Sina, his whole thing was this argument. You're familiar with the term a priori, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his whole thing was that we could prove God a priori. He gave like the example of a man who was levitated up in the air. He couldn't see, touch, or feel anything. He said that that man, alone with his mind, can prove God's existence without any sensory experience. 1 second, I want to just grabbing the argument.
Sure.
I'm
While you
gonna
do
put
that,
it
can I just
formally.
put out a warning? I am very skeptical about that because that tends to mean that you can't test it. I'm also dangerously skeptical of our own senses, and that's why I like peer review. But by all means, continue forward.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The thing that's going to be much more reliable than our senses is going to be our mind. Our mind is much more reliable than our senses because our mind is the way that we confirm our senses. So I'll put my argument formally in the side chat. You can check it out. The reason why I think, of course, the well, I mean, you said that this is sort of begging the question, but I don't see how it is. Because if it's begging the question, then it wouldn't really be able to be proven a priori. The reason I sent it, the reason I sent it formally in the side chat is because I want you to tell me exactly which premise you'd reject and why.
All
Because
right.
I'm having trouble understanding your contempt. So go ahead.
Oh, I also don't like. See, some of these words do not translate well to physics, like actualized. Like
Actualize in this context just means give sufficient reason to be.
I also don't know. We don't know if there is a totality of contingents, a
No, no, no.
cause of
Don't worry.
everything.
The totality isn't taken to be some sort of ontological commitment. No one's ontologically committed to a totality. It's like
But
a
these are
mathematical
things
set.
we
No
don't
one's.
know.
What do you mean?
The totalities of contingents is actualized by a contingent experience. We don't even know there is a totality of contingents. We don't know if there's something. There could be something beyond the
No, no, no,
singularity,
no.
a multiverse.
There's tons of work on this. We know that some things could not have been. Could you have not existed?
Could I have not existed? Of course. But my
Yeah,
parents
so
had sex.
that means that you are contingent. So we know that
Yes, I'm
contingent things
contingent.
exist.
Oh, I know the contingent that oh please, that is not. I'm not saying contingent things exist because again, God is contingent on us to exist. So, for example, the Christian God was created from a mixture of Judaism. After the temple fell, they were actually able to record in the Torah, and then these four anonymous authors and Paul. This is how Christianity came to be. And so they created this book. And so if you were to erase this book and you were to erase all the followers, then the Christian God would no longer be. He would be erased from the universe because he's contingent on them
Okay,
to
but
exist.
here's the thing. Okay. This is the equivalent of saying, let's say I have like a wall in front of me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've closed my eyes. I've been blind for all my life. But then I gain the ability to see. And after I see that wall, I say to myself, this wall is contingent on me to exist. Obviously not. In a sense, you're just discovering the wall the same way we're discovering God's existence
Can
using our
I
mind.
give a better
But
example? At least in my opinion, a bunch of humans create a wall, and we say the wall created us. And you say, how could the wall create us? We are contingent on the wall to exist. And we go, no, I'm pretty sure we're the ones that created the wall.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I'm giving an argument for why, in this case, the wall would have created us. I'm giving a reason, a proof for why that would be the case. And if this proof happens to be sound and valid, then it's the case that this wall has, in fact, created us.
Created us.
I'm giving you like an example. I'm going based off of your example. But basically, since this is going to be analogous for God, I'm positing that that God's the one that created us, and my reason for this, I've given the reason and the proof for why we're contingent
and I do not
on God, or we depend on God for our existence.
Even though I don't think that premise one can be proven at a physics level, I don't think that we have something that we would say is a cause of all causes. Unless you're going to say the necessary being is the Big Bang. That's the only thing that I can think of. And I'm hesitant to call it that because we may be wrong. I would be open to saying that, but again, that's not a God. That's why it would become a naturalistic thing, and why contingency arguments are not good arguments for God. They almost, just like the Kalam argument, almost never include God himself. It's like trying to get us into a mindset where we would accept a God, but they never work like that. They never include a God.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So first off, when it comes to premise one, as I said, no one's ontologically committed to the set. The set is treated as the mathematical set, for example.
Back to the script.
Not taken to be an ontological commitment. It's just a reference to a totality of all contingent. But listen, I feel that you're not particularly engaging, because the reason I gave this a priori argument is well, for you not to say that I don't know, we're presupposing God based off like some I don't know, fallacious or me misinterpreting some physics evidence or some
can I
scientific
pause you
evidence.
for 1 second?
And
Just
go ahead.
say, a priori, you're talking about you want to prove God with knowledge that is independent of experience or knowledge that can be acquired without any particular experience.
Yeah.
I'm quoting, but I would love to know how you can know. And can I also just put a pin? Is this how you knew that God existed? You saw this argument? Because I also think that contingency, cosmological arguments in general were created for skeptics. Is this why you believe Jesus is your savior?
Okay, here's the thing. First off, so of course the reason I believe in God is because of when I was like 9 or 10, I thought I came up with the kalam. Everything which exists has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. I thought of it when I was like 10, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is proof for God's existence." And ever since then, I've been like a hardcore theist.
Really?
But listen, yeah.
Oh, do we have to
on my
talk?
life? That's actually how it happened. That's how it meant. So listen, obviously the kalam fails. I know that now, but I know that there exist better arguments. So, for example, Aristotle, he wasn't a skeptic at all. No one in his time didn't believe in God's existence. He still gave an argument in his book on metaphysics for why God exists. He just gave it because, you know, he has his reason for believing why God exists, and he gave this argument.
I wouldn't
And he gave an
exactly
argument for
say
why.
Aristotle's not a skeptic, or especially Socrates. From whence we get the Socratic method. But yes, they were theists. They were polytheists. Sure, continue.
And they all gave, well, not Socrates and Plato didn't give proof, but Aristotle gave a proof, and gave a proof for why that God would have this exact nature. His nature would be all-knowing, you know, most powerful, etc., etc. He gave like certain attributes that nature would have, and he gave reason for why that nature exists. Now, here's the thing. This is going to be how my proof a priori would work. Let's say I know nothing but my own existence. I only know that I exist, okay? Now, if I know that I exist, I must necessarily know that I could not have existed, yes?
Yes, it could have been that, or at least we like to think, unless it's a fully deterministic universe in which there truly was no other way, but it could have been the sperm didn't make it. Different sperm.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So what I'm positing is this. This is like my own twist on his argument. On Ibn Sina's argument. If I know that I could not have existed, and everything which could not have existed has a cause, then I must have a cause. Now it's either that the thing that caused me is either also could not have existed or contingent, therefore it's going to need a cause, etc., etc. We're going to keep on going into an infinite regress, or we're going to encounter a necessary cause.
Okay, pause you for a
So,
second, because I agree with you that we have
go
a
ahead.
cause. That is true. We are contingent. We are contingent on our parents to exist. I could even say we're contingent on a bunch of things. We're contingent on us getting food. We're contingent on shelter. We're contingent so that we can keep our body within homeostasis. Doing all these things, nonetheless, God is still contingent on us. That is how up the chain that God is. Because God, so far as I could tell, only can interact with us in our thoughts and in media when we're actually reading and watching them on TV. As far as it comes to actual revelation, as an atheist, I'm not getting that much. I'll hand it back over to you, but then I just want to talk about Kalam for a second. I know you no longer believe it, but that's okay. I have a better version.
Sure. So here's the thing. What I'm asking you for is the argument for why God would be contingent on us, because I gave the argument and the proof for why he wouldn't be.
Fantastic. Okay, can I give you an argument? Which you're going to say this is not Kalam. You're right, it's not Kalam. Does everything that exists have a cause?
You want my personal opinion, or
Yes.
like the how the argument goes? My personal opinion, no, not everything which exists has a cause.
Fantastic. So why can't the universe not have a cause?
Because the universe is contingent. I believe all necessary things don't have a cause, but contingent things all have the cause.
What's the universe contingent on?
Oh, well, obviously I would say God. If it's not God, it's another external thing which is contingent on God.
Do you see how we have hit rock bottom? Because you're trying to say the thing that we know is here is contingent on the thing that we disagree exists.
What?
We've hit rock bottom because you're saying that God is the explanation for the universe, but the universe doesn't need an explanation. Why? God's a plot device. Why does the universe need an explanation?
The problem, okay. So the problem here is things that don't have an explanation in philosophy are called brute fact. Things that don't need an explanation.
So the universe
like the laws of
could
logic,
be a brute fact.
Yeah, but I'm getting to the problem with this. The problem with this is that it entails that the universe must necessarily exist. The universe must always be this way. That basically me and you could not have existed. We must have always been this way.
It was always
so of course this
happen.
just falls into modal collapse, necessitarianism.
Why?
So you'd be committed to a lot of stuff that because it's positing that the universe is necessary. You'd be committed to basically, I don't know, us always having this conversation in every possible way. if we don't have this conversation, there's a contradiction entailed.
First of all, I
Do
don't
you
know
see?
if there
It
are
leads
other
to a very big
possible
problem.
worlds. It would mean there could be. There's just one possible world. This world. It's this conversation. It was always determined to happen. It's happening, and all conversations that are all going to
No,
happen
no, no.
have been determined already. Yeah, that could be true. We have no way of knowing otherwise.
Here's the thing: when we speak of possible worlds, we're just using them as a semantic tool so we can figure out probability better.
Oh,
No
with
one
a
takes
multiverse,
no one
there
takes
could be
the
possible worlds. I'm just saying that you don't even need that model. I just don't understand what God gets you. It's a mystery. It from all other religions and know that your God is a myth. They know for a fact that their God isn't, but they know yours is. And so I just don't get why you just can't. I mean, it's not the actual. We said let's get to the actual reason before I get flustered over creationism. Let's talk about this is really the reason this beginning to exist is the real reason why you believe that a man 2,000 years ago came back from the dead, or is it Islam, or is it none of them?
Okay, so I'll give you my reason for being a Christian, but first off, let's get something like off the table. Being like the existence of multiple gods, of course, it doesn't entail that like there's no religion that's true, or the existence of multiple religions. The same way, for example, there can exist counterfeit paintings of the Mona Lisa. That doesn't refute the existence of the Mona Lisa. There exists counterfeits of all things. In fact, that goes far as to say the fact that many unrelated cultures concluded that God exists and that there exists a religion is proof that God exists, and that exists, and that there
better
exists a
example,
at least
once
it's evident
again,
toward.
just to make a better example, it would be like 12 different places claim that they have the true Mona Lisa, and each one of them knows that theirs isn't the counterfeit one. I mean, sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This implies that the Mona Lisa exists.
I guess
That
in
exists,
that example,
there exists an
I guess
actual
in
Mona
that
Lisa.
example, there is a Mona Lisa, but I would still need good evidence for that to exist.
So I gave you the evidence for God. We've established
You
that
gave me
God probably
a priori contingency argument about us having God as a necessary cause. I would say we are the contingent necessary cause of God. I still don't know why your God would be a better example than just the universe always being. That is where time was able to happen.
I gave you the problem with this. The problem is that it entails necessitarianism. It entails that the universe couldn't have been otherwise.
But
And
I don't view that as a problem.
This is just unlikely. Do you really think that, like, I don't know, that if me and you didn't have this conversation, there would be a contradiction? That this would be illogical if we don't have this conversation? Do you really think that I must exist? Obviously not.
No, I think your parents had sex, and you were the sperm and egg that were able to mix. The same with my parents. And now, because of our mutual shared interest in theology, we're now sitting here talking, having a conversation.
I know. But what if my parents didn't meet? Is that a possibility?
I don't know.
Well, here, let me give an example, okay? Let's say I built a machine.
Mm-hmm.
This is an argument against necessitarianism that I came up with. Let's say I built a machine, and this machine allows me to replicate situations exactly, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say I replicated the situation with, I don't know, me before I had this conversation with you, but I just chose not to.
I don't think you can go before time, but okay.
What I'm positing is that it's logically possible. If it's logically possible, it works as a valid example.
Okay,
but basically, here's the thing.
Okay.
What I'm basically saying is, if it's possible that I couldn't have done this, then necessitarianism fails. And it's possible that I couldn't have done this.
Sure,
Therefore, necessitarianism
but You can't go back in time. I think that's impossible. So let's just throw that one out.
There's like a bunch of work on time travel depending on the theories of time that you hold to and stuff.
Yes, and all of them so far generally state that you can go forward in time and you cannot go back. You can speed up time. You can get close to the speed of time, which in relative terms will make you seem like you're moving through faster. And yet there doesn't seem, as far as we know, to be any way that you can go back in time.
Well, it's not okay. That's not really the point. The point is that it's possible that I could have done this differently. That's the point of the example that
Sure, I can't accept that, but I still don't understand why you would take this over some sort of naturalistic cause, which has been the case for every other cause in existence.
Well, here's the thing. Unless that naturalistic cause is necessary, there's going to have to be some sort of explanation for why that cause is the case.
If singularity has always existed, it can't not exist.
So there exists this necessary singularity which causes the world?
Everything was all in one spot. This is everything that we know. And from this,
Yeah, okay. So, I mean,
all causality comes.
If you concede to a necessary singularity which caused the world, you're just conceding to a necessary cause. Which, sure, that doesn't immediately mean
this
God.
This is why I say
it means
contingency and
there exists
collage arguments are bad. They don't include God.
No. They get us very close. Now, of
They
course,
get us
I
to
would
the
argue
mindset of
this.
wanting to accept a God. That's what I said. Yes, so save
Listen.
us. Get us to the dessert. Get us to the punchline. Where's the God?
Okay, so here's the thing. First off, let's define God. God's going to be defined as the pure existence, the purely actual, the necessary being, a necessary agent. So basically, a necessary being with a mind.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Because I heard a bunch of pures.
God is the pure existence, which basically means that his essence and his existence are identical. He's purely actual, which means to say that he doesn't have the capacity to change. And he's a necessary being, a necessary agent, which just means that he must always exist and that he must always have a mind.
Right. Okay, that's interesting, but I call that kind of the neo theism, the modern theism, because it's this, one God who is created and controls everything.
No, this is Aristotle's God.
Well, Aristotle believed in multiple gods. He believed.
No. In his book, in Aristotle's book on metaphysics, he gives the case for why there must exist one God. He gave an argument for monotheism.
I would like to see where he believed in just a single one God. I'm pretty sure even if they believed in gods that came forth for the universe, there were then other gods that controlled other different elements of nature.
No, that was like the classical Greek guy, but Aristotle wasn't an average guy, of course. Aristotle was very smart for his time. In his book on metaphysics, I'll send you the link if I find it. It's on. I found it on some classic site or something. But basically, if you read through it, he gives the case for why there must exist one God. If you want me to give you his argument,
well, no,
sure.
I would like to just. I mean, for it's that one definition of a God. It's not the definition, but it is a definition of a God. I always find it weird that gods
actually,
have a mind.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the weird thing is that he gave the exact same God, or very similar God, to the Christian God or the Abrahamic God. His God was just this, as I said, this purely actual, pure existence being. So, let me give you.
Okay,
let me give you
and
how
I
he
want to say
concluded.
at least
Okay?
that from my fact checking just now, he indeed believed in multiple gods.
Where'd you get it from?
I am Googling it, trying to find relevant sources. Let's see, where's this source?
One second. Let me make sure. Let me see if I can find the quote.
From the Ruther? I mean, the Jews were polytheistic to a certain point too. It's just that they were Canaanites. However, what separated was the God Yahweh chose them and broke off. And so we get Judaism.
Here. I found it. He speaks of the unmoved mover, a singular being. Here, it's in his book on metaphysics. Look in the section. Metaphysics, book 12. The unmoved mover is a being with everlasting life, and in itself is a source of motion, being itself unmoved. So I'll give you the method that he used.
It says here, in Ethics and Politics, Aristotle emphasized the importance of worshiping the traditional polytheistic Greek gods.
Where is the citation?
Well, I got three citations.
Quote him and send the quotation.
Going to send these in the chat.
Tell me when you've sent.
I am. Says he makes standard references to polytheistic array of gods such as Zeus and Athena.
Well, I mean, the case that he gives in his book on metaphysics is specifically for one god, the unmoved mover.
Can I tell you why you believe this? Because I have found in theist circles, new, bad, old, good. And so you want
I was an atheist.
I find that their version of theism, they want it to be the most oldest so that it can be, quote unquote, the most authentic.
No. Whether or not it's old doesn't affect how true it is. It doesn't really matter.
Sure, but I mean, monotheism taking, popularity is more new. For most of the world, it has been polytheistic.
Well, yeah, but I believe polytheism is illogical.
Sure, because I don't know why, but I'm sure because of these contingency and these arguments. These arguments were created very specifically to win over skeptics, not people of.
No.
Yes,
the argument that I used in specific was made by Ibn Sina. His argument was
became popular
actually oddly enough. Listen.
Muslim circles. They come now from Dawa and the Christians, like
no.
Craig.
This is
yes.
This is a niche.
And Darth Dawkins and all this have rebranded them.
Listen. The problem is most modern day guys haven't actually read any of this stuff. If you look at the ancients, like Ibn Sina over here, this argument wasn't even against atheists. He just made it to give others, this is how I concluded God exists. And this was a very intelligent guy. His books at the time were the standard for science textbooks in Europe and in the Islamic world.
And he believed
in alchemy. And Newton was a Christian.
And he believed in alchemy. And so it doesn't matter how smart someone was. It turns out what we want is the most modern, newest academic sources that we can find.
Well, go ahead and give me an academic refutation of his argument. This entire argument was, this is why I believe in this. This is why I believe God exists. His entire thing was that, of course, we shouldn't believe anything without reason. And
I would like an argument that includes a God.
Yeah. So basically, to continue, this is Aristotle's method over here. Everything exists in a state of potency until actualized. Do you agree? Everything has the capacity to change until it's changed by the external actor.
Again, actualized isn't what we use in physics. We're still in philosophy. I wish if we could get to causality. Also, it looks like someone, Alex, we're gonna. Was it Alex, Alexis? Either way, we're gonna have 5 more minutes, and then I'm probably gonna take our last caller for the night.
Okay, sure. So let me just summarize everything I said real quick. Well, everything I'm gonna say. So basically, you can make tons of cases for why this necessary being must be God. Basically, you can give pragmatic reasons. There are lots of ratios in the universe which, if slightly changed, can lead to, like, I don't know, nomological impossibilities, or like a lot of impossibilities. So therefore, this implies that the cause itself had a mind to set up these ratios. You can make cases like Aristotle's case, this first actor. Well, it doesn't necessarily give him a mind, but it gives him these attributes that he wouldn't be able to change. So if everything exists in a state of potency until it's actualized, or then the first actor, well, everything is moved. So therefore, if we go back to the first actor, he would be unmoved. Or in other words, everything exists in a state of potency until actualized.
I know
Therefore, the first actor would have no
I know
potency.
you're summarizing, but just to get one more question. I'll give you more time, I swear. But
Go ahead.
why does it have to be a mind? Why can't it just be a necessary cause that happened just like every other natural event? It might be a little bit different because it's not just our nature. It's a little bit further down the line. We're trying to go a little bit outside of it. But why does it have to be a mind? Why does it have to be something so complex that we only find it in one branch of multicellular organisms?
Well, it seems to be the case. This is an inductive case. So it seems to be the case that everything which is complex or has very well set ratios is, probably, trying to think of the word. Sorry. English is not my first language, so.
Oh, no, trust me, your secondary language is stronger than anything I could have ever said. Nonetheless, can I just ask you, because we get this irreducible complexity argument all the time, but is a fork complex?
Is a fork complex? Well, what do we mean by complexity?
What do you mean by complex?
What I mean by complex is that if it was slightly changed, it would not exist.
Okay, is a fork complex?
If a fork was slightly changed, it wouldn't. It would still exist. So no, a fork is not complex.
Thus, a fork is not a creation.
What? No, I'm not positing, dude. I'm not positing that. Okay. So I think there's like I didn't clarify my argument. Like, listen. So, well, I'm not particularly stating that every creation must be complex, or I don't know.
Then
Let me
why
think
care
of the manner
about
to put it.
complexity? Because complexity is
No, I'm
sometimes
positing that the
bad when
universe.
designing.
This isn't very analogous to my position. What I posited earlier was this. Okay. If we seem to observe that everything which is complex, or well, to use my definition for it, everything with very well set ratios that if changed would lead to that thing not existing, seem to be created by a mind. So therefore, when we look at the universe and we see that its ratios are very well set, and if changed it would lead to the universe not existing, it leads us to conclude that the universe is most probably made by a mind. So this is an inductive case for why it's probable that there is a mind behind the universe. The reason why your analogy doesn't work is because no one's positing that the fork is complex or that the fork must need a creator. Because the fork's ratios are, like, if the ratios of a fork do change, like, it doesn't lead to the fork not existing.
But, so this is just the digits could be changed some way or another and the universe would fall apart. That's true. Or it could be if we change the physics consonants a little bit, there could be other forms of life that just wouldn't have been possible in this universe.
It wouldn't have been possible in general. It's nomologically impossible for some of these things for some of these ratios to have been changed.
I mean,
so
they can't be changed, then
listen.
this is just the life that develops under those constants. I don't understand why that implies a mind, because it would show that life under these conditions is very, 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 very rare. Not saying we're the only forms of life out there. In fact, we're probably not. But it just doesn't look, the anthropic principle, that's what I was trying to remember the concept. That seems to be a not great way to design a universe if you thought life was the main purpose. I'll let you finish. We'll keep on going back and forth if I don't let you finish. So by all means, say what you want, and then I'm gonna say goodbye.
Okay, sure. Of course, like, thank you for your time. I thank you for this discussion. But basically, I posited the inductive case that, of course, there is a possibility that all of this was just like a fluke, and we just got lucky. But the possibility is very, very low, and it's more probable that there wasn't. I haven't not very well read on physics. I'm turning 16 like 2 months, so I'm still like in high school. I haven't read much into like any of this stuff. I haven't studied formally.
That's
so I'm not gonna be able to speak
Surviving
very
high
well on like
school
the
is hard
physics
enough
or the nature
sometimes.
of mind. Yeah, I know. Okay. I'm gonna go. Thank you for your time, of course. I thank you for this discussion again.
Absolutely.
Have a good day.
Thank you for talking. And all right, we are going to. I may have to actually speed run, and that is to say, I'm going to give you each maybe 20 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but on Amy time, that's not that much. Because I should eventually get to grading papers, but this has been actually a fantastic discussion. I am going to bring up, I believe that's Hakan, and then it's blocking me seeing the ends of names because of streamer mode, but M something. We're going to be bringing them up. All right. Hakan, what is up? How are you? And what are your thoughts on God?
Hey, am I clear? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Is this recorded somewhere?
Yes, it is. We are at youtube.com/Amy Newman, as well as let me send shout outs because I should have done it. Twitch.tv, Amy Newman Skeptic, and x.com/Amy Newman Tweets. Sending love to everybody out there.
Okay. Well, I just overheard the previous conversation. Just a little bit of it. And I could maybe provide the missing link for why the pure act necessarily has a mind, not by induction, but by deduction. So the reason is essentially that because the pure act is the cause or the actualizers of all things, namely, for example, material things, because we know these material things exist. We are material things, material beings. And because of the, what is it called? The principle of proportionate causality, stating that the effect is some way present in the cause. But we know already that the pure act is not material. So the question becomes, in what way are material creations present in...
Can I pause you?
In the pure act, yeah.
Well, I want to know what this pure act is because I don't know anything in this universe that is a pure act. Pure is, again, an adjective. It's something that we generally describe. We say we want pure water, but there isn't like a pure just out in the universe. It's something that we describe something as being.
Yeah, so the pure act is the from the argument of motion, right? You would come to the conclusion that there is this thing which is which has no potential, but just is pure actuality, right? That's what I mean by
like
the pure
energy to me, but energy just means to do work within a physics sense. And
I thought you were familiar. Oh, because I overheard the last conversation, and it sounded like you were granting the existence of the pure act from his previous argument, and then but just wanted the missing link to why the pure act has a mind. And I could. That's what I was working with.
Yes, I would say that I don't believe that there is something. I would be open to something being a pure act, But
Yeah.
words like pure and ultimate, I find, do not help in describing the universe. And so they often, I think, muddy up what would other be clean physics concepts. Not saying we can't get things out of philosophy, not saying it's not the first step oftentimes in the scientific process. I am just skeptical of these types of arguments that don't eventually lead to some form of testing or some sort of empirical evidence.
Well, that's like literally absurd. But this is
Wait, can I pause you for a second? I would
Yeah.
say anything else would be absurd. I would say that if you did anything else, you're just accepting things out of just not having good evidence. It leads you up to believing conspiracy theories. It leads you up to believing tampered items, that a snake oil salesman. Oh, okay. So why do you think that is absurd?
It's absurd because the empirical method is based upon like abstract thinking and deduction and argumentation. And even me and you discussing here like already assumes that we can come to conclusions based on our rational thinking and reasoning, right? Not necessarily every truth is empirical, right? I could make a deductive argument that's not empirical, but it's still true. Right.
Sure, but I would say empirical evidence is the best type of evidence that we have.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe, but I'm not even sure if I agree with that. But I would still say that you can come to truth through reasoning about abstract ideas without being involved in empirical data, right? Like mathematics.
Sure, you can have mathematical proofs.
Exactly, but those are abstract in nature. They're not empirical, but they're still true. So
I would say God is more abstract in nature because we created them, and thus we can change them, we can manipulate them.
Right. Well, I think this is pretty silly to be like a total like empiricist. I think it's not a.
I'm a total empiricist. Like I said, when we're creating hypotheses, it's okay to use philosophy. I just think that you eventually need to go out and do research, tests, find some sort of empirical data.
Yeah, it depends on like what matter you are investigating, right? If you're investigating about biology, you would need to eventually grab some biologists and do some studies, right? Or if you're investigating chemistry, you would have to do some testing and combine some different materials or whatever. But when we're talking about philosophical proofs, like theology and philosophy, it's not the same thing, and it cannot be tested empirically in the same way.
But
it has to be like I guess debated and reasoned towards.
But I would say, not to continue harping on that, I think that's a bad thing. I think the reason that it cannot be tested in the same way as science is a negative, and that we should not just believe that a God exists based on argumentation alone.
Okay, but I think I explained to you why this is absurd. I mean, you cannot prove math empirically. You cannot prove math empirically, or you cannot prove like the scientific method empirically in nature, right? So,
what? Yes, that's the whole point of science. Yes, you can.
No, you cannot use like empiricism to prove the scientific method itself, right? But this is like a higher.
I've read that before, but yes, indeed, you can. The way to get around bad science is to use better science.
Okay, maybe you're not grasping the issue at hand. But so with the previous guy, I'm sorry I didn't catch the whole conversation, but did you guys did you grant him that God exists, and then you wanted to know more about the different qualities of God, or how did that go?
Sure. Well, I would say that God does exist. He's just our creation. And so he's contingent on us to exist. I say he because within the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim worldview, he tends to be a male God. But then there are other gods which would also be contingent on us that are male and female, and within the polytheistic worldview, or even a monotheistic worldview with just one goddess.
Okay. Well, I could provide a philosophical argument for the existence of God. And I could also show you why God has a mind, necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, so do you believe change is real?
Do I believe change is real? Yes.
Okay. Do you agree that change is like essentially that a potential is being actualized? So, for example, if
again, that is weird language. I know. Once again, we are potentializing an actual. Can you give me an example in like maybe something simple?
Yeah, so like a seed in like by nature of being a seed has the potentiality and potency within itself to become a tree if certain things will actualize that change. So whenever a certain change occurs, it's just the potency or the potentiality in the thing that's being actualized. Right?
Okay. Translate that now to a god.
Right, sure. Now, the next premise would be that actualization of a potential can only be because of some other actuality. So basically, you would need an actual fire to melt ice. A potential fire will not actualize anything. Like a potentially hot stove cannot cook your food or whatever, right? So some actuality is required, right? Are you following?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this actuality is either actualized, which means it goes from potential to actual.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just
Are you?
this type of language. It just always feels like obfuscation, but we're going through it. Let's go.
All right, cool. So then this other actuality is either actualized, which means to go from potential to actual, or it is unactualized, which just means it does not go from potential to actual, but just is actual. This is just an extension of the law of the excluded middle. Either it goes from potential to actual, or it doesn't.
We are activating our omens.
So this then ultimately would lead to either an infinite regress of actualized actualizers, or you would at some point arrive at an unactualized actualizer, or something that just is actual and doesn't go from potential to actual.
I'm going to ask the same question. How do you know that that I asked the other person? How do you know the universe is not the actual actualizer?
Okay, well, the universe has potential because it changes, right? So then there you
changes.
Go. Yeah, but anything subject to change or something that can change has potency, but the pure act has no potency. So it cannot be identified with the material realm. It is actually transcendent. It transcends the physical realm or the universe. It's something above the universe, essentially.
We're just asserting that?
No, it just follows from that the thing is without potentiality and the universe has potentiality. So it cannot be identified with. You see what I mean?
I just see you trying to say that God is the actual actualizer. There is no evidence that there is an actual actualizer. And when we give an example that could be something like that in a natural phenomena, you say, no, it can't be that because it does something in the universe. But I don't understand how God isn't anything than, again, a plot device. It's just saying God did this thing at the very beginning. There we go. We don't have to do any more searching.
Well, a lot of different things follow from God being pure act or without potency. For example, we could say about God that he is not subject to change, because to change is to have potentiality awaiting actualization. So God does not change. To be
I
unchanging.
don't really know what that means to be unchanged. If he can't change, then I would say, how does it have a mind? Because
Yeah,
I
sure.
view those two things as in contradiction.
Well, why is that? Why is being unchanging contradict having a mind?
Because you generally change. You go from one position to the other. You are generally having thoughts.
Yeah, sure, but our intellect is not the same as the pure act's intellect.
Sure, it appears
Yes.
way dumber than modern humans in most of
No,
the things
no,
that
no,
it
no,
does.
no. It's perfect essentially.
You
So
know-
it doesn't change its mind or have any potentiality. It's just absolutely perfect.
Okay, so can we at least knock off the Christian God if we're saying it's a perfect God, the Christian, Jewish, Muslim God?
No, so the Christian God is this pure act God. Yeah.
This is the same guy who drowned babies, right?
What do you mean?
Like Noah, remember when he drowned babies? But he's like, we gotta let Satan live because that's okay.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no. Are you trying to say there's some moral problems here, or what is your?
I'm
argument?
saying that the Christian God is a moral bastard, and to say he would be perfect is insulting to people who are moral today.
I think that's just you like moralizing. I think God can take life whenever he pleases. He's the author of life, so he can take life.
Sure,
This
I
is
find
not
that
a
evil. I
issue.
find that henchman logic, and you find that generally what the people who follow supervillains say.
No, God is good, definitely. But if you perceive some injustice in God, in fact, it is not injustice. It's just you not understanding the plan of God.
Oh, well then what's the plan? Why do you drown babies?
Well, I'm not claiming that I have the answers to every question. I'm just saying that we as humans are limited, so we couldn't possibly even understand
It
the
just
answer.
looks stupid and barbaric to us.
Well, things can look a certain way, but not be the case. Right? You could stand like very close to a painting, and then it may look really silly. But if you take a few steps back, you'll see the whole picture, and it'll be intelligible to you.
What's the whole picture?
So, no, that's what I'm saying. We as humans do not have access to that knowledge yet, right? We don't know all, like the entirety of God's plan. But I know that that's the plan is good because of my knowledge of God, right? So for me, and for the Christian point of view, it's not an issue. It's more of an issue with human limitation. It's not an issue with God. So
I view this as a limitation with humans because I think humans are making excuses for what would otherwise be a very evil God. I don't understand. Like, he drowns babies, and then you say, well, he goes right to heaven. But then he's like, we can't kill Satan because I don't want to wipe away his free will. I got to let him, do evil and tempt people to hell. But these babies can't have them walking around. They would be spawns of evil, unlike Satan.
yeah, but this is not an argument.
I mean,
I just
it
explain why.
was. It is, kinda.
No, it isn't. It is. I explained to you that I could just appeal to some unknown reason that God does a certain thing. No, I can just appeal to like a sufficient but unknown reason.
But unknown.
And yeah, sure, yeah, unknown to us because we are limited, and it wouldn't be a logical problem, right?
You see, he's really throwing babies in the meat grinder because he's the good guy. He's saving the world.
Yeah, but now you're just, I mean, again, it's not an argument. But
That's true.
Are you
That's true.
understanding?
It wasn't a meat grinder. Let's be fair. He drowned them.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this type of discussion because it's dishonest.
You think it's dishonest, but you're going to try and defend mere pre-sop type of contingency and the pure act. There is no such thing as a pure act in the universe. But you're saying
You didn't address that argument either. I provided it and you didn't. You just changed topic.
Because an act is someone doing something. There's no such thing as a pure act.
It's not referring to an action. It's referring to an actualization.
Again, you sound like a used car dealer.
All right. Well, the audience, I don't know how many are watching, but the audience could play back and follow the logical argument until you steered it some other direction. And,
I steered it a direction of the actual religion. I will say, there's a thing, the one thing shared between presuppositionalists with Christians and then the Dawaists is they hate defending their holy book and their holy text. The Muslims do the same thing. They want to talk about kalam. They want to talk about contingency and a necessary being, because that's not the reason why they believe in a God. And if you defend the talking snake and the drowned babies, which happens in all three of these religions, all of a sudden they get very lawyer-y.
so, I mean, I'll just leave. I think I'm done now, but there's no, just to be clear, there's no logical problem with appealing to a sufficient reason for God doing things which we may view as bad. But there's no logical problem with appealing to some unknown reason, a sufficient reason for allowing, for example, evil that we do not have access to, but is there, right?
Hakan, I'm actually gonna interrupt you just to hand you it back because you're right anyway. I said I was gonna do 20 minutes, not because it's not an interesting conversation, but because I have to probably go great. But I'm just handing it back to you to use as much time as you want. Final thoughts, and I'll do my best not to respond.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So I tried to introduce the argument from motion, understood with the Aristotelian view of change, the antipotency distinction, but this one completely over his or her head.
Come on, we had a mostly civil conversation.
Yeah, but I'll just say this: that the problem of evil that you're hinting at, it's not a logical problem, because the Christian can just appeal to some unknown reason that God allows evil to exist, and it would be a problem of human limitation, not a problem with God.
And all right, Hakan, on that note, I'm looking forward to more discussions, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Goodbye.
And all right, we are going to invite our last person in, and then I think good or bad, awesome or amazing, whoever comes in after, I think we're still going to head on out. So I am going to thank Hakan. Thank you. Also, just sending love really quickly. Let's see you all in chat, not just all the people in P&R sending love to Kaman and Christ Bitch, but also Mass Bandit, Spike Storm, Sven, Billin, Pavel, Darren, BV, Blaster Master, John, Darren. If I missed you, Khaleesi, sending so much love. If I missed your name, Mash, keep on sending hi, and I'll say it. But we are going to get our final person up.
Yo, what's happening?
Not too much. How are you? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, everything's good. Actually, I ended up putting a pizza in the oven, so I might only have like a few minutes, 5 minutes. So
That is okay. In fact,
that
I
fine?
should probably be eventually getting to grading papers and being a good girl anyway. So by all means, talk till you can. And
Awesome. Yeah, so in terms of well, I'll share what kind of I've understood so far in regards to the nature of reality and what God is and all of that. So far, from my research, I don't really see God as some external entity that we all should subordinate to. I see God, by its characteristics and descriptions, I see God as essentially what we refer to as consciousness, something that is boundless, infinite, and eternal, something that actualizes particle reality. And I think when we look at Christians and Muslims saying, oh, God's doing this and this and this, God designed this world. Well, when we look at the very fabric code of this reality, it's all inverted. It's the inversion of truth. When you reverse the word live, you get evil. And when you look at how animals behave, did God design this reality for this to persist? So you look at male dolphins, they gang up on females and rape them. You got chimps torturing and brutally attacking other chimps, orchid mantises deceiving other insects as flowers and devouring them. You've got even ants that invade other colonies and take slave ants. So when it comes to some external entity that creates this world out of love, we just have to look at the very basics of reality and understand that whatever is persisting overall, it is not something from a loving God. And I think a God that is loving is a God that is conscious. And we know that all deception, all warfare is based on deception and inversion. So when I look at the nature of consciousness, and is consciousness something that can, like we're bound to this particle reality, or are we independent to this particle reality? This is where I start to incorporate physics like quantum physics alongside our interpretation with the fact that particle reality had a beginning. So that was just my intro.
Sure, I can agree with some things, and then we'll talk about other things. So I agree that, unfortunately, we do terrible things. Not only that, but as you said, in other animals, including and specifically other very smart animals like dolphins, unfortunately, have the capacity to do terrible things. There are events of, sexual assault within dolphins and these parasitic organisms. So yes, I agree. Any good God would have some explaining to do. What I would talk about is I am personally, though I guess everyone is, highly interested in consciousness. For obvious reasons, I think that we should all marvel at it, but I also think that we sometimes do it an injustice by making it the supernatural mechanism, because I think it's here for a very specific reason. I think it has a good quality within the niche of biological organisms. I think right now, as far as we could tell, it is within the branch that we call animals. I don't think that plants, though there's evidence that plants could have, some sort of receptors here or there. It's still not the type of consciousness that we would explain, and the same is true for fungi, bacteria, etc., etc. What I worry about is that we sometimes, I think, romanticize consciousness being something like a fundamental element of the universe. And all I would ask for that, the people that I would say, and I'm not saying you do this, but is digestion included? Is there then a fundamental digestion to the universe? Because I think digestion is a mechanism as equally important as consciousness. And yet I think most conscious beings would go, digestion, that's not fun. That's not interesting. That's just us making food. Well, yeah, but if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have consciousness. We wouldn't have life. We wouldn't have. And so it's like, what mechanism can we pick as the favorite? Well, maybe it's our body healing. Isn't that pretty cool? The fact that our cells, after, a certain amount of time, will slowly build platelets and heal. And so that's I guess, what do you think about that? I'm just skeptical of consciousness being supernatural, I guess, is my shtick.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you breaking that down, and yeah, for me, I try to really kind of work off of what we can empirically measure, and then from there, from what we understand, what can we understand from what we can measure essentially, and we know that there are things outside of particle reality that unfortunately we can't measure, and we can see the impact consciousness has on our brains. However, we still have not actually pinpointed where consciousness, subjective experience, qualia actually originates from. And if I just go more detail into context,
Well,
we
can
know
I
that.
pause you? Because I know you're about. Okay, you're going to give examples. And I guess I should let you give examples. My only thing. Okay, give me an example or two. I don't want to cut you off mid argument.
No, please go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, it's just I often get this. We have no idea. Not that, once again, not from you, but we don't know where consciousness is. It could be here, it could be there. If you look at squids, it actually, it could be in their arms. And maybe we're actually getting some of our data from our gut. There's good evidence that we're getting residual data back and forth with our brain. And yet, I would still say that if someone is losing consciousness, if they're having a seizure, the doctor that we want to get them to is a neurologist. And there's a reason for that. And that is because that is where we believe the majority of evidence points to consciousness at least being locally located.
Cool, yeah. So essentially, my stance that contrasts that is we know that consciousness plays a role actualizing particle reality. So we know this through the dual slit experiment, through the act of observation. It collapses the non-discrete wave field potential, the quantum field, into discrete outcomes.
Can I pause you for a second? Because so it is true that observation collapses the double slit experiment. An observation is not a conscious being. An observation is any change within the system. So even a particle of dust would be an observation that collapses the waveform and makes it either a cat or a not cat, or a dead cat or a cat, I should say. And so it is not actually a brain, a multicellular organism that is doing that. It can be. We can observe it and collapse it. I'm just saying you don't need that. It is way simpler, the quota, than a higher organism like ourselves.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And that interpretation is commonly referred to as the Copenhagen's interpretation. And with the idea that we are bound to particle reality and we play a role in collapsing it, doesn't add up when we pair that with the fact that we know particle reality had a beginning. Because if particle reality, if we play a role as observers to actualize non-discrete infinity into discrete values, and we are bound to particle reality, and the observing agent has to be within particle reality to create that, to perpetuate it, that means that particle reality must have always existed, but we know it didn't.
But why? I don't understand why care so much about consciousness. We know consciousness is new. We know that for most of the universe, there was nothing conscious in the universe. And so why should anything be contingent on this one just very obscure niche of evolution on this third rock around this hydrogen ball?
Well, with my arguments I'm presenting that we hold the same qualitative essence as God. And by suggesting that consciousness is something that is merely assigned to evolution, suggesting that it's bound to particle reality, which isn't possible if particle reality had a beginning, then the things that I'm suggesting here, the implications on what this has in regards to consciousness being fundamental, which is referred to as the thought processes as panpsychism, it raises a lot of questions in regards to us as beings and the nature of free will and many other things.
And okay, so you are into panpsychism.
Yes. So my question to you is essentially, if in the dual slit experiment we know that there has to be some form of observing agent to collapse non-discrete into discrete values. If particle reality had a beginning, then what caused the first initial collapse from non-discrete values into the first particle?
It could have been just a white hole. It could have been we hit a time in gravity where the universe decided to make a repelling force instead of a sucking force. It could have been fluctuations, random fluctuations within the universe. It could have been many things. I don't get why it had to be a mind. Because a mind is such a very specific thing. A mind would have had to have made a choice and go, I want to do this. Or, I mean, technically there is another explanation. It could have been there was a mind and it created the universe accidentally. It was cooking and the batter that wasn't in the mix just fell out and we are somehow the batter that fell down there. But it just seems weird to go to that length to explain the universe.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And the frameworks that you provided suggest that the quantum field has some mechanic within it that can actualize particle reality without needing an observing agent. But this isn't possible. The quantum field, the non-discrete particles are independent on themselves. They can't create anything. There has to be an observing agent.
Yeah, well, creations are new too. Creations just started happening within probably the past. Well, animals are the only branch that we know of that can create creations. That's what we're doing on this computer here.
Yeah.
But why a god? Can I also ask, is the entire universe conscious?
So with my point in terms of what actualized reality in the first place, the universe is essentially a product of our consciousness. Our observation is what manifests it. If we're not observing it, then it doesn't exist.
But what happened? Okay, for most of life, we know there was no consciousness, except for this God that I guess is that the only thing? Because I want to know what was making the universe without us? Because we just hit the scene. We're a reaction to plants. Plants got their own thing. They were able to photosynthesize. And fungi and animals were left with whatever at the dinner table. We had to take it. And so with animals came consciousness. So who was actualizing everything up until us?
So with the first collapse, there had to be an observing agent, right? In order for the first particle to be created. There can't have been anything else, and it can't be described using a construct within particle reality. There has to be something independent of that for it to have existed in the first place, an observing agent. So my question is, what is this observing agent?
But why did you need that observing agent? Well, I don't understand why you need
we know
that.
In the dual slit experiment, we know that in order for particles to actualize, there has to be some form of observation.
There has to be at least something within the system that is not just the observation. Again, like a speck of dust. But why do we need, what was so I understand your God started it off. What was keeping it going? Or it just, once he started it off, then it just kept on going. You don't need consciousness anymore.
So the reason why I bring this up is because you say that dust or some particle can collapse the non-discrete functions itself, but this is a flawed statement because this suggests that particle reality had to have always existed for it to have perpetuated. But the fact that particle reality had a beginning and an observing agent is needed to actualize it, this suggests that the observing agent is independent of particle reality.
Well, I will say a common misconception is that consciousness is what makes the collapse. When they mean an observer, they don't mean a human being in a lab coat making an observation with their brain. I would implore you to ask any physicist this. Again, we were not around to actualize. I love that word. You gotta actualize your ovens. We were not around to do that for bacteria. So how did bacteria form without us?
So the point that consciousness isn't tied to observation misses the whole ontological point of the whole experiment in the first place.
But it doesn't. I don't understand. This is well known within physics. We also know, once again, it went. Do you believe in evolution?
In evolution?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what was actualizing the bacteria?
The bacteria,
Had
some
consciousness?
form of consciousness.
What was that consciousness?
Well, consciousness is consciousness, and it can actualize any experience. And when we assign consciousness to a person or something, then this is just through our observation. But consciousness can facilitate any form of experience within particle reality.
So bacteria are conscious.
Yes.
Are fungi conscious?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Plants? Whole shebang?
All of it, yes.
See, I just think that at that point, consciousness just becomes meaningless because I think we have a specific mechanism that we are using to walk around. And I don't think, like, it's amazing. It is truly one of the most fantastic things in the universe. And yet, because it's that, we don't need to make it better than it is. We don't need to make it fundamental. We don't need to make the universe contingent on it. Like, it's okay just being this amazing, one of the most amazing chemical reactions in the universe. I'm happy enough with that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your conversation. I've got to shoot off now, but hey, I appreciate interviewing me. And a quick question: do you continue talking in these spaces? Because I'll be happy to come back and let's continue talking about this, and I can see where I can improve and learn from all this. So.
We have more conversations up and coming, and by all means, it was a lovely conversation, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you more.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll reflect on kind of this conversation, and I'll see what else I can bring to the table in terms of what I learned from this. So yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and I just hope you have an awesome day.
Much love, mate. Bye-bye.
All right. I see one more person down below, but I am going to end and then send good night to everybody. Disconnect and end. There we go. But it was a fantastic time. James said, I thought he had to sneak off somewhere to work. He did not. He lost power. That's a bad. All right. Well, then sending love to James W., who I am so sorry in the middle of that lost power. Because we did have some good conversations, but we are coming on. Like I said, I want to do another Skeptic Bible study up and coming. I want to do really badly, not a news style show, a anti-religion show or a pro-skeptic show in the same style of those type of daily show type of shows. Sending love also to the fantastic you'll never hear me say this, the CNN program that is I've Got News for You. Whether you're pro, against, doesn't matter. They're actually pretty fantastic. Sending love to Roy Wood Jr., sending love to Amber and Ian, who are fantastic. But before I send, thank you so much. Thank you so much, the freak. Shout out to James W. Yes, I hope he's okay. I think he's okay. He's in a better place now, and I don't mean heaven. I mean a better apartment. So hopefully he gets some electricity. Sending love out there. Okay, there is 2 places. Maybe Stage of Reason was supposed to be today. Sending love out there. Both Stage of Reason and Answers in Atheism are live. So I'm sending them to you. I'm sending you guys, to them. So please check out both J.L. Warren at Bridge the Divide and Speed of Sound at Answers in Atheism. They are fantastic. I'm even going to send you over their links. Here is J.L. Warren's Bridge the Divide, his Stage of Reason, and here is Speed of Sounds, Rage Against ID and Creationism. I'm sending love to my skeptic brothers and sisters out there. So there's some content if you want to jump into it. Let's think. All right, I think we're going to tap out, y'all. I hope you had a fun time on this episode of Convincing Atheist, though the topics will be down in the title, hopefully soon after. I do want to thank my co-host, James W., for another fantastic episode where we ask theists what they believe and why, along with all the people who joined our panel. I do want to thank all the people in chat, our awesome mods who make the stream so great, and lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. I also want to send love out to both Shane Billowitz, woo, and Freak, woo. Thank you so much for all your love and support. And don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, because then you get transported to Narnia. Wait, no. You just get invited to our live streams or to join our premieres. Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? You can also join the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in our description below, along with the ability to hit that join button and become a channel member with our evolving badge system, because evolution triggers creationists. Why? I do not know. At least the Panpsychism guy accepted evolution. I feel like that's a step in the right direction. I'm going to take a sip. Air. Yes. But sending love to all of the people that came on to the show tonight, the Christians and everybody. And also sending love. You can send in even more support at patreon.com/Amy Newman. And along with James W. and myself, Amy Newman, we will see you all on the next adventure of Skeptic Ballsy. Good night, everyone. Mwah, mwah, mwah.